Hey everyone, welcome to this webinar on how to score a Q51. Before I get started, can all of you let me know if you can hear me clearly or not? A quick yes in the chat box would be great, and then we can get started. Also, you can let me know where you're from, what are your pain points, what are your expectations from these webinars. All of these could be great talking points. So if there's anything that you would want me to specifically cover in this webinar, please let me know. I'll try to take it up. Okay, I can see a few yeses in the chat box, so I will get started. Once again, welcome to this webinar. I'll very quickly introduce myself. My name is Saquib, and I'm going to be a host today. Some of you may have attended my webinar before, so you might know a little bit about me. So I am one of the co-founders of GMAT, and I'm also the product lead. So basically, I take care of the product side of the product as well as the content side of GMAT. I like teaching quant, and I usually conduct webinars on quant. This is slightly I'm doing something on the different side, where I will be talking a bit about quant concepts, but I'll be covering mostly about the strategy part of quant. What are the things that you need to take care of, or what are the reasons behind which, because of which people don't end up scoring Q50, and what are the things that you need to take care of? Okay, so as far as the progression of this webinar is concerned, it's pretty straightforward. Without wasting any more time, I'll jump into the main part of the webinar, where I'll talk about what are the things we need to take care of to get a Q51. And once we're done with the webinar, then I'll keep about 10 15 minutes at the end in case you have any questions, which I'm things that I might not have covered in the webinar, and situations that are specific to your case. Then feel free to let me know. Before I get started, I would also want to understand the kind of audience I have. So if you can let me know, at what stage of your prep you are. Are you starting your prep? Are you in the middle of your prep? You're about to take your exam? What is the situation at this point of time? That would be great. I'll quickly read out some of the chats out here. Okay. So Jay is asking, can you please explain how to achieve a Q? Jay, I'm hoping it's a 51, not a 21. Arvind is saying, I'm getting a quant score of 46 in practice, and I gave my exam and got a 45, but I don't know how to increase. Arvind, I'm going to cover that. Don't worry. I have a few, slides on which I talk about how to cross this plateau. What could be the reason behind because of which you might be stuck at a particular score. Anil, yes, Anil, Arvind, I'm going to cover both these things in the same place. Okay, Shilpa is saying 2 months into prep. Okay. How to avoid long calculations and how to do them faster. Okay, so you're talking about time here, which is an important aspect in quant, especially if you're targeting Q51. So I am going to, take a scenario and talk about how you can avoid it and what are the things that you can do, and what are the scenarios in which you should not, worry about going fast. So I'm going to cover that too also. Don't worry about it. Okay. Abhishek is saying you're starting your prep. Kunal Singh's out to take in the second week. Came from GRE prep. Okay, some of you have come from GRE in the middle of the prep starting. So I can see you have a mixed batch out here. Some of you are starting in your prep, some of you in the middle of your prep, and a few of you are about to take the exam or have taken the exam with a score of Q46 is what I can see. Okay, great. So I think I have a mixed bag, which that's great for me because I can, cater all these three kind of students cohorts that I have out here. Um, what I'm going to do is, since we're going to talk about how to get a Q51 and what are the traps that are going to set, I'm going to start from scratch. Okay, I'm going to talk about all these aspects. I'll start by talking about if you're starting a prep, what are the things that what's the best way to start your prep? What are the things that you need to cover in the starting, in the middle, and the end, and how you should go about completing the concepts. I'm going to talk about something which we call as a silly mistake excuse, and this is where I'm going to talk about certain traps which you may fall for and categorize it as silly mistakes excuse, and that kind of uh, you know uh, since you're not able to figure out what's the main reason behind making the mistake, you're not jotting it down, you are not being able to improve. As I mentioned before, I'm going to talk about the timing conundrum also. uh, should you go fast? Should you worry about time? Should you look for shortcuts? Is there a way to increase the pace? What should be the right pacing strategy to get a Q51? I am going to cover all of this in this, and at the end I'll kind of give you the strategy also on how to identify these gaps, how to avoid making silly mistakes. Somebody mentioned silly mistakes, so I'm going to talk about how to you know not call it a silly mistake, and how to specifically find the gap and fix it. And at the end, once you understand the timing conundrum, I would talk about what should be the right strategy for for to take during the exam. And at the end, I'm going to, if you have any questions after covering all of this, and believe me, it's pretty exhaustive. So I'm hoping that I'm going to take care of everything. But just in case, if you feel that you want to ask something specific, feel free to do that at the end of the webinar. Okay. Okay. So I have a question in the chat box. I'm a 99 percentile in CAT. I'm writing GMAT with a self business work. Uh, I would need to know more about the profile, but yeah, anything a seven. It should be 700 plus, at least 720, 730 would be great. Especially if you're looking for a scholarship, I would say the higher the better. Okay, so let's get right into it. Let's talk about how to start your prep. Now, those of you who have almost completed your prep, or those of you are in the middle of the prep, can you tell me how did you go about studying quant or starting your prep for quant? Did you start off? I'll give you some hints so that you can tell me about it. Did you start off with a particular module? Like, did you go about studying number properties, algebra, word problems, something like this? Or did you start solving questions from official guide directly? Or did you do some random prep and uh, kind of hacked your way through it and took the exam? uh, what kind of strategy did you use to, or what kind of strategy are you currently using now? Okay, Kunal is saying concept first and then solving questions. Okay, great. Can you tell me which concept did you start from, Kunal? Okay, topic by topic. I'm interested in also knowing when you say topic by topic, which topic did you start with? Okay, which concept did you start off with first? Did you start off with, percentage? Did you start off with primes? Did you start off with algebra, some topic of algebra? Okay, Hemant says NP. Okay, what about the others? Okay, Anil saying gone through all the basics and I'm solving OG questions. Taylor saying I go by difficulty. Okay. Fakran is asking me, can you talk about different techniques? I'm going to cover a bit of that also, don't worry. So understand that I'm not going to go too deep into all these skills, but I'm going to cover some portion of it. But that's definitely there. Okay, so Arvind started from arithmetic. Took a diagnostic first to evaluate. That's great. Okay, that's a good right way of doing Palav. Okay, so Taylor, what did you do? Let's say, for example, you practice 500 questions, and if there are certain questions, if you're not getting correct, did you go and from where did you go and look for the concept? Okay, Kunal started with Prime's number system. And after a point, Arvind is saying you started solving. Okay, so see, this is what I have usually heard. These are the two to three, strategies that have learning strategies that I've found people using. One is they either start off with a particular module, like say for example number properties, and then they move on to the next module, which is algebra, then word problem, then geometry. Some of them solve official guide questions, and then try and figure out what topics they are not good at, and then they try and learn those particular topics if they have to. And some just solve questions randomly, trying to with that hope that someday they'll improve. um, um, Ideally, usually I do not like all these three strategies. Okay, I'm not saying they are good or bad. See, a first strategy where you're doing module-wise studies could be good for somebody. First two strategies, basically, where you're doing official guide or you going module-wise, may work for someone if you are already good in quant. So, for example, somebody has taken a CAT. Somebody said that they have taken a CAT, and if they are preparing for GMAT, then maybe just maybe they can try practicing questions and then figuring out where they are not good at. But somebody who's starting from scratch, and if they start solving questions directly, then it may not be the best strategy to go about doing it. Now, what we usually suggest is to kind of break down your the if you're learning from scratch, if planning to do it from scratch, then ideally break down the concepts into three categories like basics, intermediate, and advanced. Okay, that's the way we look at it. Now, basics are certain topics that we believe that you should definitely complete. If you don't know those concepts at all, then moving into intermediate would not make sense. For example, unless and until you don't know how to solve a linear equation or a quadratic equation, we would not recommend that you go and learn linear inequalities. So first complete linear equations, quadratic equations, and then only move to linear inequalities if you have to. If you try and complete one before the other, that's a problem. Okay, then we kind of categorize the remaining topics are advanced topics, especially if you're looking for a Q51. Then topics, there are certain topics a lot of people leave, like for example, permutation combination, coordinate geometry, functions, sequence and series, which people feel they're not very comfortable with it, and either they leave it, which ideally is not recommended if you are looking for a Q50. So it's better to categorize it into basic, medium, advanced when you're studying, and not categorize it as NP, WP, GO, and in that way. And I'll tell you why. I'll give you the reason behind that. See, what we want you to do is we want you to learn certain things which we kind of call it as a prerequisite. If you know these things, then when you move on to the next topic, you can apply whatever you learned before. Now, if this sounds vague, let me give you an example. Let's say somebody starts with number properties. Okay, in number properties, people usually cover even odd first, right? And then they cover primes, LCM, GCD, and it's a sequence that they follow. Okay, now say you're starting from scratch, you haven't done GMAT before, you haven't taken any aptitude test before. Okay, and let's say you are kind of out of touch with quant also for some time. So let's say you come to primes. Okay, now when you're learning the prime concept, you'll go through the concept, you'll start solving questions, and you might make a mistake in that, right? Some mistakes, let's say after taking the quiz, you made some mistake. Now, what you would be doing is that you would be attributing that mistake to prime. You would say, hey, I've made a mistake in a question like prime, so I may not be good in primes. However, there is a small chance that the mistake that you might be making could be because of some other reason. Now, why am I saying that? See, primes, I can understand that the primes concept is deals with prime numbers, but when you come to advanced concept of primes like prime factorization, finding even factors, odd factors, total factors, divisors, then you are also applying the concept of exponents. Okay, which is somewhere here in our table. Okay, so if you don't know exponents, or if your concept of exponents is a little shaky, then there is a chance that you might end up making a mistake in primes. Okay, because of exponents, but you might be indirectly attributing that mistake to primes, saying that I'm not good in primes, which is the wrong strategy. Okay, obviously there are applications of linear equations also, quadratic equations also could be there when you're dealing with primes. In fact, there's an application of even odd also in primes. So if you're not doing even odd first and then coming to primes, then you're making a mistake, because you will not be able to understand what is even primes, odd primes, and how you should apply even odd concept to solve questions based on that. So ideally, what we say is that this is the right strategy that you should follow. Okay. If you notice out here, I have, not categorized this as number properties or algebra or word problem or geometry. Okay, I haven't done that. What you'll notice here is that I've kind of created a sequence. So those of you who are preparing for the first time, you can take a screenshot of it also if you want to, and you can follow this sequence if in the way it's given out here. This will ensure that whenever you're moving ahead, you're going down the table, you will always have concepts, you'll always be able to apply these concepts that you learned before in the future topics also. And the mistakes that you would be making in the future topics would not be because of something that you might have not learned before. Okay, so you don't have to wait to complete algebra to start number properties or something like that. You can always go, you can, go to algebra, number properties can go hand in hand also. Word problem can go hand in hand also. Some questions do involve a percentages also. In some question, I can give you a question where I'm talking about one factor is how much percent more than the other factor. And if you don't know what is percentage increase decrease, you will get that wrong. Okay, so this is the right and the most recommended way of going through the topics. Now, somebody mentioned out here when I talked about, you know, how do you prepare? How do you prepare for this? You said someone mentioned that we go through the concept and I then start practicing questions. And this is what I've kind of mentioned here. A lot of students do this only. They learn concepts and then they directly move to stage 3, which is practicing questions on that topic. Okay. Now, if you kind of do this, then what's happening is that you learn concept, you make a mistake, then you feel, hey, my concept might not be good. So let me go back and learn the concept again. Then you learn the concept, then you again go back, practice questions. And this loop keeps on going again and again and again. And that is there'll be a point where we'll stuck in a particular zone. The could be a 600, 650 question level zone, or you might hit a plateau of Q45, Q46, and you may not be able to move beyond that. Now, can anyone tell me what could be the reason behind this? What is wrong with this strategy? I've learned a concept. Now I'm practicing questions. That is what you have done always. What's the problem with this? Anyone? In the meantime, I'll look at some of the chat. If anyone has asked any question which I missed, I'll try and cover it quickly. Okay, Anushka is asking, can you elaborate on how to guess smartly in case can't solve? See, I don't usually advocate guessing a lot. Okay. And there is no one, unique strategy or universal strategy of guessing as such. Okay, it would depend on topic to topic. I have discussed a few strategies on how to solve 7-level questions. There's a webinar on it where I've talked about how to take numbers and solve questions elaborately. I would recommend that you look at that. I'll try and share the video link with you. Okay, that should be helpful. Okay, Anish is saying retention. That's a very good point, Anish. Kunal is saying, true, I said that and I'm stuck at Q45. Jagdish mentions a very important point, application of concept. Okay, so see what happens here is you might, as just taking the example of prime, so you might know that to find out the total factor, this is the formula. Some formula might be presented to you. Okay, a plus 1 times b plus 1 times c plus 1, something like that. Okay, this would be given to you. And then you go and solve the question. But the question won't be a direct question, right? They won't be asking you the direct formula. That won't be a 7-level question. They might be asking you to infer something. They might be asking you something else where you'll have to draw certain inferences to get to the answer. And until you don't know a methodical way of solving the question, or if you don't know how to apply that concept, you will never be able to solve. Never would be not be a correct word. It will have a hard time solving those 7-level questions easily. Okay, you might either end up taking a lot of time to get it correct because you don't know the right way to do it, so you will take a long drawn method to solve the question. Okay, and you'll end up taking a lot of time, or you might even know you might not have any idea how to go about solving that question, which again would lead to a problem, right? You would get the question incorrect. So to summarize, and this is especially for people who are starting their prep, obviously you can, those who are in the middle also can kind of apply it, is to first of all follow a structure approach, topic by topic, topic by topic, the one that I've mentioned in the previous slide. And while learning any concept, so if you're starting off with say linear inequalities, make sure linear equations is done, quadratic equations is done. And while learning the inequality, just don't learn the concept, try and also understand how to apply this concept. How do you go about solving the question in a methodical way? What are the things that you need to think of so that you can solve the question in the right manner? Okay, and not just apply the concept randomly, because that's not going to help you. And I'm going to prove all of this. Okay, I'm going to take up questions and I'm going to show you, if you don't know a methodical approach, how would you end up taking more time? How would you fall for the trap? All of these things is something that I'm going to cover. And I'm going to start off with the first part, which is the silly mistake excuse. Okay. Now, what I mean by this is, Kunal, yes, I'm going to give, I just noticed your chat. I'm going to give you an example of methodical way. Don't worry about it. Okay. So the silly mistake excuse is whenever I'm taking mentorship calls or taking a tutoring session, and I ask students, hey, you made a mistake in this question. What's the reason behind it? And the standard answer that I guess is, hey, I made a silly mistake. Now, the problem with saying that you made a silly mistake is, how do you improve? Okay, you made a silly mistake, but because of what? What was that silly mistake? That is something that you need to categorize really well. If you're not able to categorize the reason behind making that mistake, and if your category, the only category or the only bucket that you have is the silly mistake bucket where you're putting all your questions, believe me, you're going to have a hard time improving. You'll never know what to improve. You'll keep on solving questions. Some days you'll do well. On good days, you'll get all questions correct. On bad days, you'll get a lot of wrong, and you might not even know what is the main reason behind it. Okay, so what do I actually mean by silly mistake is something which I'm going to take up a question and help you explain. And I'm also going to talk about the methodical way as well as the silly mistakes that you make. Okay, so let's take up a question which I'm sure you can see on your screen now. And I'll give you about 1.5, 2 minutes to solve this question. Okay. Um, so solve this question, and once you're done, don't post the answer. Okay, don't post in the chat box. I'll let you know when the time's up. When the time is up, you can start posting your responses, and then I'm going to show you what kind of mistakes that you could end up making in these kind of questions, and what are the things that you need to take care of. What do I mean by methodical way? What do I mean of solving the question fast? And what do I mean by silly mistake? Why you should not categorize things as silly mistake? Okay, so try it out. You have about 1.5, 2 minutes to do this one. Taylor, are you asking me reading the question fast? Are you asking me, do you do this something, or are you asking me, should you read the question fast or not? I'm not sure what your comment meant here. Okay, okay. I was hoping that you're not asking me how to read fast, because I would have simply told you, hey, that's not possible. I want you to read slowly. Doesn't make sense to read fast. Honestly, if I read a question fast, even I'll end up making a mistake. I'll miss some constraint, I'll miss some information and get it wrong. Okay, guys, you can start posting your answers. Those of you are done. You can let me know what do you think is the correct answer. Again, keep in mind this webinar is not about concepts, topics. Okay, so I'm not going to go too deep into the right way or the methodical way of explaining the concepts. Basically, I'm going to talk about the approach. If some of you are not aware of this concept, that's totally okay. Okay, I'm going to talk about the things that you might have missed while solving this question. Okay, Carlo says 2, 3, and 4. You have to choose one option. So are you saying the answer is B? I just mentioned the answer option, Sunmimi. Just tell me whether it's option A or option B or option C. Okay, Vamsi says A, Abhirup C, C, D, A, C. Okay, so you can see a lot of confusion out here. I already have A, C, and D. Anyone wants to go with E or B? Okay. So, and please participate, guys. It's okay if you get it wrong. That's totally fine. As I told you, the purpose here is not to get this correct. If you get it correct, well and good. But I just want to talk about what do I mean by not reading properly. Okay. Okay, I have a B. So I have almost all the 4 options here: A, C, D, B, D. Okay, thank you. So I have all 5. So I have an E too. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, another A. Okay, so but I see the main confusion. I think it's between C and D. Most of you mark C and D, and few of you have. In fact, C, A, C, and D is what I can see. Okay, okay. So let's start the discussion. Let's start the discussion, and let me focus on what do I mean by solving the question in a methodical way. Now, what I've seen is that When most of the students read the question, they kind of breeze through, read fast. Okay, so they'll read it like this: so if x is a positive integer and x is not equal to, and x is not equal to 5, okay, if this is less than 0, how many values are possible? And they'll read it in one shot. Okay, and after reading it, what most of you might do is you might write down the expression like this and start solving. How many of you did that? How many of you just read it in one shot, wrote the expression, and then started solving the question like this, taking x cube common and writing it like this? How many of you did this? If you did this, a quick yes in the chat box. If you read the question one shot, wrote the expression, and started solving the question. Okay, a lot of yeses. Okay. Yes. Okay. See, there are you're learning SC, right? SCCR and verbal. You need to kind of apply those logic here also. When you're reading a sentence correction, you're told, to break down the sentences, read, understand, then move ahead. Quant is also similar to that. You have to break down each and every part. If there's any important information that is given in the question stem, jot it down before writing the expression. So here's what I do. And I'm telling you, I've made mistakes whenever I don't do this. If I see x is a positive integer, I kind of write here x is greater than 0, and I end up writing a few values like, okay, x could be 1, 2, 3, blah, 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 blah. Okay. When I see x is not equal to 5, if I want, I will kind of write it very clearly, x is not equal to 5. And while writing down some of the values, I might even not include 5 here. I'll write 6, 7, blah, and something like this. It cannot be 5. And I'll put this in a box. I'll highlight it, or I'll make sure it's very clear uh, somewhere in my piece of paper, which I can go back and refer to. Because before marking the answer, I need to make sure that am making sure that all the constraints, or all the this is what I call a constraint, or all the information is satisfying properly before my marking my answer. Okay, that's point number one. So if you did not do this, there is a very good chance that you might end up making a mistake and count some of the values that you should not. Okay. Now, after that, obviously, I'll read this part, this expression, I'll write it down. I'll keep a note that I'm looking for less than equal to, so I need to count equal to, cases that are equal to also. And x minus 5 is in the denominator. That is why they told me that x cannot be equal to 5. That's a mental note that I'll make. And then I'll start solving questions, because obviously now I cannot do anything else. So I will kind of solve this a little quickly. Okay. Uh, as I mentioned, I am not going into mm, going step by step, so I've broken it down very quickly. Now, the way to solve this question is something that we call is drawing a number line. And apologies if my number line is not straight. But what we do is, after simplifying it, we take up each factor and kind of find the 0 points. Okay, so while solving these kind of quadratic inequality questions, we tell students is, hey, the first step is to simplify. Somebody talked about skills. Simplification is one of the skill that you should know. Obviously, you cannot do anything with this expression, whole expression, so you need to kind of break it down. Once you have broken it down, obviously you cannot do anything else now. So quadratic equation states, hey, find the 0 points. That's the second step. What do I mean by 0 points? They're kind of roots. So you take each factor, you take x cube, you equate it to 0, you get x equal to 0, so that's one of your points. Okay, x minus 7 equal to 0, take x minus 7 equal to 0, you'll get x equal to 7, that's another point. Okay, x minus 2 equal to 0, that's another point. In fact, I should kind of draw it like this. Let this be 0, let this be 2, let this be 7, let this be 5. Okay, so notice we have these 4 points with us. Okay, if you equate all these 4 factors to 0, you'll get these 4 points. Now, if you're following a methodical approach, if you're writing it exactly in this way, then to find out the range of x, or the values of x that can satisfy it, you need to kind of consider each region. So this is one region, oops, this is one region, x equal to 7 is one of the points. Okay, these are values 8, 9, 10. All of these are values that x can take. Okay, so what you can do is you can start putting positive, negative alternately on these regions. Now, this is a concept of quadratic inequality. If you aren't aware of it, that's totally okay. But this is something that you can do directly if your concept is good. Okay, if you have a good, if we have a clear conceptual knowledge, then after marking the 0 points, the next step is to mark all these regions. Okay, and look at what is the inequality that you're looking for. You're looking for less than equal to 0. Less than means values which are values of x, which when I plug in here would give me a negative value. Okay. So you look at regions where you have the negative sign. Okay. These are the regions where you have negative sign. Okay. Now you have a greater than equal to 0. So let's say hypothetically for a moment, I, kind of take this full region. This is where I have negative. This is where I have a negative value. So what I'm going to write, you're going to write the values of x could be within this range, or the value of x could be within this range. So the value of x could be 0, 1, 2. Value of x could be 5, 6, 7. Okay. I could see some of you marking E as the answer. Okay. And some of you marking D as the answer. These were two answers I saw a lot of people mark. Those of you marked D and E as your answer, you missed the constraint. You did not focus on this. Okay, so that is what I was talking about being methodical. If you don't write this down, you'll count all these 6 cases and you'll mark E as your answer. Okay, who will mark D as the answer? Those of you who forgot about positive integer. If you forget about positive integer, what you're going to do is you'll say x not equal to 5. So hey, this case is not possible. So I have 5 cases. So let me mark D as my answer. Even this is wrong. This is wrong. Both of them are incorrect. Why? Because this is incorrect because x is a positive number. If x is a positive number, then that means x cannot be 0. So this is not possible. I cannot take x0, I cannot take x5. So the only values that I can take are 1, 2, 6, and 7. So the correct answer in this case is going to be option C. Is this part clear? If you have any doubts, please let me know. And I think just 2 of you said the answer, 3 of you, no, I think quite a few of you said C as the answer, which is actually good. But those of you especially marked the answer as D, I can see quite a few D's and E's. I hope it is clear why you fell for the trap. This is the trap that I'm talking about. And see, it's not a trap, by the way. Understand, GMAT knows that you would forget reading positive integer, or you would not focus on positive integer. Okay, since they know that, they will kind of create a question in such a way that if you miss out on the part that it is a positive integer, you'll end up making a mistake. Shilpa, I've seen your question. See, as far as how to mark positive negative numbers are concerned, just for now, just to keep the discussion short, always remember that you start with the positive from the extreme right. Okay, from extreme right, you always start with positive. This basically means that any value that you take which is greater than 7. For example, if you take x equal to 8, the value of this expression that you have would be positive. For example, let's put 8. 8 cube, 8 minus 7 is positive, 8 minus 2 is positive, 8 minus 5 is positive, right? So this expression becomes greater than 0. Do you want greater than 0? No, you don't want greater than 0, right? You want less than 0. So you will go to the alternate region where you have a negative sign. So for example, take 6. 6 cube is positive. 6 minus 7, see, this is negative. 6 minus 2 is positive. So look at the numerator. You're getting positive times positive, which ends up giving you negative. You want negative, right? Less than 0. So that is why we'll be choosing this region and this region. So you have to alternately take positive, negative, starting with positive from the extreme right. Okay, I'll share a video link of this where I've explained all the cases. You can look at it. Just let me complete the final discussion and close it so that this is perfectly clear. Okay, I hope this brief discussion was helpful. But guys, those of you made a mistake. Is this part clear? What did I mean by methodical approach? What do I mean by not reading the constraints and falling for the trap? Now, a lot of people, what they're going to do is they're going to say, I missed a positive integer. I made a silly mistake. So, and they'll forget about it because for them, it's a trivial mistake. I forgot about positive integer, that's fine. But you understand that this is a very common, very frequent kind of mistake that people make, forgetting about positive integers, forgetting about constraints. So when I say solve in a methodical manner, what I mean by that is that you need to ensure that you don't miss out any constraint. If you miss a constraint, then you'll end up assuming things. And if you end up assuming things, you'll make a mistake. So if you forgot about positive integer, you would take 0 because you thought 0 is possible, and then you'll end up making mistake. This falls between 650 to 700 WAMC. Okay. So I hope this is perfectly clear. I hope through this you understand. So when you're making your error log, right, when you're writing down what is the mistake that you made, you need to clearly write down missed constraint. And there should be a comment column where you should be able to jot down, okay, I did not read properly, and because of which I forgot that that x is a positive integer. I need to write it down. So that is why I emphasize a lot on spending a lot of time in the initial phase of the question. The additional 10-15 seconds starting jotting down the information correctly can make or break everything in the exam. Okay. There are a few other common mistakes also which I want to cover. So the first one is already which is done, that is not reading properly. If you're planning to get, if you want to get a 49 to 51 or 50-51, then the other two also are important aspects that you need to work on. So once you have learned the concept, when the application part comes up, it is very important that you should be able to draw the right inferences. If you don't draw the right inferences while solving the question, you will end up getting the incorrect answer. And obviously the third is making calculation errors. So a lot of people want to solve the question in 2 minutes, come what may. So while doing the calculations, they might make a lot of mistakes. Like when you're taking one term from one side of the equation to the other side, you might miss out the sign. When you're multiplying something, you might do the wrong multiplication. So sometimes whenever you're doing it like 9 times 7 very quickly, you write 72 instead of writing 63. These kind of mistakes are something that you have to avoid in order to be able to get uh, a Q51 or Q50. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I want to talk about each and every mistake. And I want to show you why you end up making a mistake and what is stopping you from getting a Q51. So let's take a question where, the first two aspects, not reading properly and not doing the right inferences, can play a big role. Okay. So that you understand these are the small things that you need to maybe work on to improve. So here's a question. Um Try it out, take all the time that you need. I'll give you about 2.5 minutes for this one. This is slightly on the difficult side, and then we'll start the discussion. Okay. In the meantime, if you have any doubts, please feel free to ask in the chat box, and I'll take them up while you're solving this question. Okay, Amit is asking how to avoid such mistakes. I know this material was just still I did the mistake. I guess no, Amit. See, the last part is where I have a problem with. I guess I need more practice. See, you need practice. I don't have a problem with that. What I mean by that is while practicing, you have to actively, you know, focus on these things. You have to make a conscious effort. So when you're doing solving questions, in your spare time, in the initial days, don't put pressure of time. Just say, I will solve a question, and whatever steps that have been told to apply, I'll apply. Come whatever the time it may take, it doesn't matter. So you start doing all these steps, start writing down the information, start writing down the constraints, and do it for about 7 days, 10 days, 14 days. After 10 to 14 days, you realize it's kind of becoming intuitive. It kind of, it will become a part of your habit. But understand, a lot of people say, it takes about 21 days to, build a habit, right? So you need to kind of do that for at least 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Once you kind of do it, and I'm adding the part, don't worry about the time. Okay. Get used to the habit of doing it again and again and again and again. So that subconsciously, any time that you do any question, the first thing that you do is take care of the constraint or do it in a methodical way. Then once that becomes the inherent part of your process, then you can start worrying out other aspects. Okay, don't try to improve everything and at the same time not gonna work. I hope that answers your query. Okay guys, you can start posting your answers. Vamsi, the quant difficulty level is almost along the same lines, but there are certain things that you can skip while preparing for EA. If you want more details on it, you can just write to us at support@gmatwiz.com, and we'll let you know what are the things that you need to leave. By the way, I'm just very quickly sharing the inequalities link. Anybody who wants to learn about the number line method, you can use this link, YouTube video, and look at it. Okay. In fact, Vamsi, I'm also sharing our Canary link in case you want to talk about it in detail over a call. Then you can use this link to book a call with us also. Okay, so the answers have started pouring in. I can see people saying A, B, C, B, C, B. Okay, so the confusion seems to be between C and B. I have just one A. Anyone else who would want to put in the responses? Prachita, it depends on the constraint. Okay, so say for example, if the question is talking about uh, positive integers, so I would take from I would not start from zero. I would not consider zero. What I usually do is I put an empty circle out over here. So in this case, ideally I would have put a empty circle saying that I don't want this value. Okay. If you're worried about 0 to 2, 5 to 6, these things, then it depends on the roots that you get. Okay. Depending on what roots are you getting, we draw the roots or the 0 points and then find out the range. I hope that was your question. If there's something else, please let me know. Quite a few B's and C. So I can see a lot of you have marked the answer as B, which is good. As far as I remember, B is the correct answer, but I can see a few uh, C. So let me talk about the C trap is the actual part of this question. So let me tell you why some of you may have fallen for the C trap out here. Okay, I can see another question in the chat box, but I'm going to take that up once I'm done with this question. Now, in DS, I usually spend a lot of time in the question stem. Okay, and whatever question that you see in this webinar also, you'll see that I'm going to understand, break it down completely, try and figure out what exactly do I need to find out before actually moving on to the each and every statement. So let's read it methodically, slowly. Okay, a certain electronic store offers a deal on the watch Model X. So there's a Model X, some offer is there on the watch. Okay, customers who buy 3 watches of Model X pay the marked price for the first two. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, since I have come across an information, I'm going to kind of jot it down. Okay, 2 watches, marked price, and a discounted price for the third one. So I'll write watch 3. There was some discount given on it. Okay. The store makes half profit from the sale of 3 watches. Okay, so now they're talking about profit of 3 watches. So see, I'm breaking it down. I'm talking about profit of 3 watches here. So these are the marked price. The cost price of these three is CP. So if I have to find out the profit of these 3 watches, that would be the total selling price minus total cost price. See, I'm not reading it fully. I have come across an information that I can use, so I'm using it. What is my total selling price? The total selling price is this plus this plus this. This is what I'm getting after selling, which is 3MP minus D. Okay, minus the total selling price. Now, some of you might end up making a silly mistake and take just 1 CP instead of 3 CP. This is because you're not being attentive. You're not writing down exactly what there are 3 watches here. So don't categorize this mistake as a silly mistake. Actually write it down and say that, um, I forgot to break it down into 3 different pieces and write down very clearly that this is 3 CP. Okay. This is the profit from the 3 watches. Now they're saying that the store makes half profit from the sale of 3 watches. So this is the profit. This is half of something. Half of what? Half profit from the sale of 3 watches of Model X under this deal than. Now they're telling me half of what? than it makes from the sale of two watches of Model X at the marked price. Okay, so this profit that I have here is half of the profit when I sell two watches at marked price. So this is the profit that I'll get when I sell two watches at marked price. Okay. Now I can simplify it, but I'll leave it. I know I have an equation which I can work with, so I'll keep it for the time being. And I'll move ahead and see what is asked. How much discount in dollars is given on the third watch? So they're asking me the value of D. So I need to find out D. Okay, fair enough. So before going to this statement, I have an equation. So I would like to simplify it. I'll say 3MP minus D minus 3CP. There is a 2MP, 2CP that you can take common and cancel out. You'll be left with MP minus CP. Okay. And since you need D, write D on one side and take everything else on the other side. And I'm doing this step, all the step because this is important, but you'll end up getting D is equal to 2MP minus 2CP, which is equal to 2 times MP minus CP. Now look at this, and I want some of you to help me out here. Tell me what is the inference that you can draw from here before going to the question stem. What inference can I draw? To find out D, what do I need? Can anyone tell me? What do I need to find out D? It might look very obvious from what is given on the screen, but I want you to say it aloud. When I say it aloud, write it down in the chat box so that later on you can figure out what do you need. Tariq says profit on one watch, profit per watch at MP, price and cost. Okay, good. So I have all the answers. See, whenever before going to the individual statement, you should write down somewhere saying, okay, to get D, there are two ways. One way is if I know the individual value of MP and CP. If somebody tells me MP is $100, CP is $50, I can subtract it and get the answer. So individual value. The other way to get the answer is if somebody tells me the actual value of MP minus CP. MP minus CP is what? Profit on one watch. So if somebody tells me what is the profit on one watch, I can get my answer. Okay. See, I'm not I didn't see that there are two variables in my mind. I did not think that okay, two variables, so I need the value of both of them to get my answer. I'm not doing that. What I'm doing is I'm saying that one way is either find out the difference. If somebody tells me the difference, I can get my answer, or if I get the individual value, I can get my answer. Okay. That's a good question. How long should we spend in analyzing the question stem? You should spend time on the question stem till the point you have something to deduce. Like in this question, I'm still deducing, so I'll make those deductions. The moment like after this, I cannot do anything else. Do I have the value of MP in the question stem? No. Do I have the value of CP? No. So at this point of time, I'll stop. I'll say, okay, this is the what I can draw from this. So let me go to the individual statements. Okay, so long story short, the answer is till the point you can come up with new information from the question stem, you should analyze it. The moment you feel that you cannot come up with anything new from the question stem, stop. Okay, now let's look at the first statement. So the first statement is the marked price of one watch is $30. So notice if I look at my two inferences that I had drawn, they're from this one fits the first one. I know my MP, but do I know my CP? CP is not given to me, right? But I need both of them to get my answer. If I want to go with my inference one where I want individual values, I don't have it. So I'll say this is not sufficient. And notice, since I spent a time in the question stem, the main stem, it might take me even 2 minutes to do this. But when I'm analyzing the statement, it'll hardly take me any time because I know what I'm looking for. I can simply say not sufficient in 15, 20 seconds. Okay. Second statement is the profit on selling each watch at marked price is $10. So now see, they're telling me if I'm selling at marked price, the profit is what? MP minus CP. This is $10 and this is what I'm looking for. This is what I want to get my answer. So the second statement is sufficient. So the correct answer is going to be option B, which a lot of you got it correct, which is good. This is actually based on an official question, a very good one. And I hope now you can understand why there's a C trap in this question. Because those of you who don't analyze, who don't draw any inferences from the question stem, you would say, okay, MP is $30, profit is $10, so I can put $30 here, get CP, and I have CP, I have MP, so I can find out my answer. A lot of you might start thinking that way, because of which you'll fall for the C trap. Okay, especially for DS questions, it is very important that you should be able to draw any inferences. Notice one more important thing, that a lot of people don't want to take variables. They're scared. Oh, hey, what if I end up taking a lot of variables? Don't worry, it's a profit loss question. If MPSP is not given, take it. If you're simplifying it properly, you will get the answer. You don't have to worry about it. Okay, so I hope this part is clear why drawing the inferences is so important. If you don't draw inferences in these 7-level questions, you'll make a mistake. In fact, there's a stat which I forgot to show you. So let me kind of rub this here. The similar question I told you, this is based on an official question. If you go and look at this official question on GMAT Club, you'll notice that 45% of the people ended up marking C as the answer in this particular question. So you can see the number of people who are falling for the trap, a small trap. Notice the amount of calculation I did. It was hardly 4 lines, right? I just wrote 4 lines out here to do my calculation. A 7-level question, 4-line question, but everything depended on the inference. If you do not draw the inference, you'll get it wrong. Okay, so you want to save time. I agree, but what actually happens is that since you're trying to save time, you do it quickly and end up spending more time. So the better way is to draw your inference in the starting only. If you draw your inferences in the starting only, you'll save a lot of time at the end instead of trying to figure out what to do. Okay. So, and see, notice I talked about skills here. I talked about simplification skills. I talked about drawing inferences, right? So how do you identify these? Now I've told you how to do it on your own. So if you are a GMAT student, you can see this on our dashboard, which I'll show you. But if you're not a GMAT student, you have to maintain your own error log and write down why did you make a mistake in this? What did you miss out here? Don't just say I did not draw the equation. Why did you not draw the equation? Okay. What inference did you miss? Okay. Or if you did not infer, write down that I did not infer. Okay. So ideally, if you want to work on your skill gaps, and this is under the assumption that you're done with your concepts, okay? You're done with your concepts and now you're working on a methodical way of improving, solving questions and drawing inferences. Then first of all, identify after doing a few quizzes, where are your gaps? And then based on that, you create customized quizzes on those particular skills and of a relevant difficulty level and try to improve, okay? And review those solutions. This part is very important. Like at GMAT I tell everyone, hey, go through the booster solutions really well. Those are solutions that I've written it myself, and I've ensured that I talk about each and every point that you need to take care of while solving the question. If you're not looking at the solutions, if you're getting a question correct and moving ahead, there's a good chance that you might be missing on some good knowledge that you can use in other questions also apply. Okay, so it's important to review, see if there's a better method, see if there's information that you might have missed that you need to work on. Okay, and it's an iterative process. That's very important to understand. Okay, so you have to practice, I agree, but it has to be a very methodical way of doing it. Find your gaps. Like just to give you an example, if you're a GMAT student, what you can do is you can just go and find out where your skill gaps. We have basically a section where we talk about the skill gaps, if you notice here. So like, for example, in this case, you can see it for this particular student. This student is good in simplify, deduce logically, utilize constraint, but not so good in consider cases and picturize. Now, how many of you out here have made a mistake while solving a question, and while leaving the solution, you realized, hey, I missed one of the cases? Okay, or I counted one more cases. In fact, we happened in the first question, right, where you might have taken more cases, or you might have missed out on one or two cases. If you're following that category, that means you're making a mistake in consider cases a lot. Okay, or you're not able to picturize. That means you're not doing geometry questions properly. Um, and by the way, considering cases is something that is tested a lot on DS. So we kind of draw correlations also. So if your DS score is less, if you're not doing considering cases well, then that kind of means that you need to work on DS consider cases question properly so that you can improve in those particular area. That means you're not doing in a methodical solving questions in a methodical way. Ideally, if you're not, the dashboard is definitely going to help you out. But if you're not a student, if you're preparing on your own, or if you're in a final leg of preparation, I would say start maintaining a log now itself. Okay, that's going to help you a lot. I'll pause here. I'll take up a few questions that I can see in the chat box, and then I'll resume the discussion. In the meantime, guys, if you're liking this webinar, I would encourage you to please, hit a like button on wherever you're watching it, on YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn, wherever you're watching it. Please hit the like button if you're finding this useful. Okay, I can see two questions here. One of the question was regarding, can I skip a couple of topics before my first mock? Okay, now it depends what kind of topic you're talking about. Okay, and what is your target score? If in the first mock you're not targeting a Q50, okay, and if you just want to see uh, whatever topics that you've completed, whether you're able to solve those questions properly or not, you may. However, we don't recommend it. We usually recommend mocks only in the final phase. Okay, when I say final phase, I mean you're done with the concepts, you've worked on your skill gaps, and now you are ready to, you've worked on your timing also, now you're ready to take the mocks. Then only we suggest taking mocks. Understand, this is not like the exams like CAT where you end up taking 20, 25 mocks. No, we take less mocks in this. Okay, we take it only when we are ready, almost ready. Okay. uh, okay, I don't see any more questions here. Tariq is just talking about your event design. Yes, it's definitely going to help the Tariq in other questions also. Okay. In the meantime, guys, if you have any questions, please let me know. Let me know your takeaways from this. What were your takeaways till this point? I would be interested in knowing whether you're taking the right takeaway or not. So till this point, what do you think? What did you understand from this? What was your takeaway so far? Anyone summarize it quickly before we move on to the next part, second part of the webinar? And this part, I'm actually going to talk about calculation mistakes and timing constraints also. Okay, anyone can summarize it quickly? Okay, Shilpa is saying, done with my coaching, but why are you feeling demotivated? There's nothing to be demotivated about, right? If you're learning the right ways, now try and kind of apply it. If you're done with your, studies, you just need to figure out where you're not good at. I've already told you a way on how to do it. So you just need to, yeah, you might need a little bit more effort. That could be possible, but at least now you know the right way to do it. Correct. So if I have to summarize at this point of time, what I would summarize is to make sure that you read carefully, write down the constraints, and learn how to apply them. Sharpen your skills like inference, simplification, and try to learn a methodical way to solve a question. Okay. Okay, so Sharik is asking, why is it not advisable in GMAT to take as much mock test as possible? Sharik, this is an adaptive test. Understand, if you're not doing well in the mock, you'll end up getting easy questions in the mock. The score would be less. It's not going to help you in any way, right? So if you take the mock in the starting, it's not going to help you at all. In certain exams where the questions are fixed, where you can see all the questions in one shot, where you're learning how to pick and choose questions, in those kind of things, in those kind of exams, we do recommend taking a few more mocks, because there you have to learn the art of leaving also. Here, there's no art of leaving, right? You cannot leave anything. You have to attempt everything. And if you want to attempt everything, you have to, get used to solving as many difficult questions as possible. So first learn those and then start taking mocks, instead of wasting an adaptive mock by getting easy questions. Okay, so I hope this is clear. Yeah, you would get a pen paper for calculations in GMAT, don't worry. Okay. uh, okay, so let's move ahead. I'll take up a few more questions, and I'll talk about some of the comments that I can see in the chat box a little later. Okay. I'll come to the part where we'll talk about calculation errors. I was talking about things. The third thing which I mentioned, because of which might stop you from getting a Q51, is that if you don't read properly the question stem. But it's also important to understand what are you marking as your answer. Sometimes they'll ask you about x plus y, you'll end up marking your answer as y. That's a very common mistake that I've seen. uh, Conceptual errors are definitely there. Like I told you, if you don't know exponents and you come across an exponent somewhere, you might end up making a mistake. It's quite possible. And I'm counting this as a calculation mistake, because in some cases, in a hurry, sometimes, we forget that addition doesn't work here. There has to be a multiplication sign here for this to work. So this would again go into a calculation mistake, though you can categorize it conceptual also. But because of these mistakes, you would end up getting the incorrect answer. Okay, so, and why do you make these mistakes is also important to understand, is because a lot of people want to, save time. You want to save this 10 seconds extra, 15 seconds extra, 30 seconds extra. So you feel, okay, let me save this time. And because of which, since you're trying to save time, believe me, I've seen people try, if they want to save 15, 20 seconds, and they end up spending 1 minute just to trying to figure out where they went wrong. And please be honest to yourself. Tell me. I want you to tell me in the chat box. Have you never been in a situation where you're taking a quiz, you're taking a test, you're doing it very quickly, you're getting the answer wrong, and then you're racking your brains trying to think, hey, where did I go wrong? And later on realizing that the question which would have ideally taken 1.5 minutes to do has actually taken you 4 minutes because you had to spend time thinking about where you went wrong. Have you faced such a situation? Yes, no. Agni, you have summarized really well. I just read your chat. That's absolutely correct. Reading questions is more important than start solving it right away. That's a very important point. Beautifully summarized. It happens, right, Pachita Tariq? You're saying that it has happened, and I'm sure a lot of people must have faced this problem. I'm pretty sure about it. Happened with myself also. I've taken if I'm in a hurry, if I'm doing a question at the end of my mock, and if I just want to complete it quickly, I might realize I made a calculation error. So the previous question that we did, profit and loss, was one question where I actually showed you if you spend more time in the question stem, you can save time while doing the analysis of the statements, and that can actually help you save a lot of time at the end also. Now I'm going to take another question here. The purpose here is this question also serves a lot of purpose. It talks about why it doesn't make sense to save time in the starting. Okay, why it makes sense to spend time in the question stem. Okay, and how doing your pre-analysis properly can save you a lot of time in the end. Okay, there's some conceptual knowledge also which I'm going to talk about, but but that's for later. So try out this question. I've already given you a lot of hints. What is this testing? Take about 2 minutes and then tell you whatever you have learned so far. Are you able to apply it here properly or not? Again, don't rush. Focus on the question stem. Ask yourself questions. When is this expression odd? When is this expression even? These kind of questions can help you get the answer really fast. In the meantime, I'm also sharing the our free trial link. Those of you who haven't tried this free trial, I would highly recommend doing so, especially if you're in your start of your prep and if you're looking for resources to prepare, if you're looking for people who can help you out end to end, and if you want these kind of advices all in one place, all the best ways to solve the questions, all the best questions, all the best concepts in one place, I would highly recommend looking at the video lesson. Z plus 7, Kunal. X plus 5, 3y minus 6 times z plus 7. Okay, another 30 seconds. I'm already getting answers, which is good. But those of you who want to take another 30 seconds, please do so. Not a problem. 15 seconds more. And those of you are done, you can start posting the responses. Okay. I have two B's, one E. What about the others? C. Okay. Come on, guys. It's already close to 3.5 minutes. E, okay. Okay, I can see a few B's, E's, one C. Honestly, the trap here is that is set here is a C trap. Okay, uh, not an E1, but okay, not getting it. Guess it's C. So C trap is set in this question. A lot of people might mark the answer as C. I'm assuming a few of you are marking E, maybe just maybe because you aren't done with even odd yet. There's a small chance, but C is not the answer. Now, see, when you solve this question, you again use the same methodology. You read the first part. You see that it's saying that x, y, z are positive integers. So you make a mental note that x, y, z, they are all values like 1, 2, 3, so on and so forth, positive integers. Keep in mind. Okay. And the question is this expression odd? Now, in DS, you can get two kind of questions. One is what is the value? What is the value of x? What is the value of y? And the other kind of questions is like this: is this expression even? Is this number prime? Is this greater than 20? Which we call as a yes no type of question. Now, in a yes no type of question, this is conceptual. I'm just clearing it very quickly. In a yes no type of question, as long as you can give a definite yes or a definite no, you can mark your answer. Only when you get a contradictory answer that it could be yes, it could be no, in those cases you say that a particular statement is not sufficient. Okay, that is how it works. So when I'm analyzing my statement, and if the question asks me, is this odd? What I do is I first of all ask myself, okay, when can this be odd? Okay, can you tell me, I have three terms, right? I have three terms and I'm multiplying it. When can the product of three terms be odd? When can the Correct. Vamsi is correct. If product is odd, then every element is odd. So I need all of them to be odd. And if there's confusion, you can just take three numbers, 3, 5, 7. If all of them are odd, then only you get odd. Okay. So if the question asking, is this odd? You'll have to infer that this and this and this, all three must be odd. Okay. Now break it down. Ask yourself, when is x plus 5 odd? Okay. Those of you who do not know the concept of even odd, don't worry. You can take 5 to the other side just as an equation, and you can 5 is an odd number, so you can write odd, and odd minus odd is even. So you can say when x is even, x plus 5 will be odd. Okay, and I'm doing this a bit directly. This is z, my bad. Okay, 3y minus 6. Now here's a small tip. The coefficient, if the coefficient is odd now, then the coefficient hardly plays any role in the nature of even odd. You can just ignore it. You can just worry about y minus 6. So if you want this to be odd, the whole thing to be odd, y has to be odd. And we already noticed x plus odd x has to be even. So z has to be even. Okay. And you can check this out. Okay. So if x is even, so take 2. 2 plus 5, 7. You get odd, right? Y is odd. Just take 7, say for example again. 7 minus 6, 1. Odd. Z has to be even. Take 2. 2 plus 7, 9. Odd. So if x is even, y is odd, z is even, and I'm putting an and here, okay? If x is even and y is odd and z is even, then only the product would be odd. And I'm explaining it to you, so this might seem that I'm taking a lot of time, but ideally this should, if the concept of even odd is good, you should be able to infer this within 40 seconds at the max. Okay. Okay. Do you ever consider that y minus 6 could be 0? That is a good point. Y minus 6, see, it's not technically y minus 6, it is 3y minus 6. But yeah, y could be 2. If y could be 2, then obviously you'll get 0. But I will not worry about 0 at this point of time. I'm just trying to figure out if I need it to be odd, when can it be odd? So I'll not worry about when 3y minus 6 can be even. If you put y as 6 or y as 2 here, then 3 minus 2 is 6, 6 minus 6 is 0, and 0 is even. Okay, y is positive, that is fine, Kunal, but 3y minus 6 can be 0. But 0 is an even number if you're not aware of this, and I'm worried about getting an odd number. So if I want 3y minus 6 to be odd, then y needs to be odd. Okay. So this, as I was saying, you should be able to do this analysis in about 40 seconds, not more than that if your concept is good. But as I told you, this is a yes/no kind of question. So this could be odd. So if this turns out to be odd, your answer would be yes, it is an odd. This expression is odd. But when would you get even? Can anyone tell me when will this expression be even? What should x be, y be, and z be? Logically think. If I want this whole expression to be even, what should be the nature of x, y, and z? Logically, without solving any question, without doing any calculation. That's a very good point, Sunmimi, that any of them can be even. But what should be the nature of x, y, and z? What should be the nature? Yes. So all of you are saying the correct part, that any one of them, if any one of them turns out to be even, if any of the expression turns out to be even, then it will be even. Very good. But for x plus y to be even, x should be what? Any one of them can be opposite. Very good. It has to be opposite. And now I'm going to write or. If x turns out to be odd, or y turns out to be even, or z turns out to be odd, just writing the opposite nature. Okay. If any one of them, if any of the statement tells me that if x is odd, I don't need anything else. I don't need y, I don't need z. And this is very powerful to understand this, because if you just think about odd now, if you're just thinking about odd, then in your mind you'll be fixated about getting the nature of all three of them, because you'll say and so I need the nature of all three. You'll be fixated with it. Okay. And there's a chance that you might even ignore the first statement. You'll say, hey, let me ignore it. Z is not there, so let me ignore it. You might ignore the second statement. You might say x is not there, let me ignore it. And that is where you're falling for a trap, because you're not analyzing it fully. You do not draw the right inferences. Okay. So I hope it is clear. With this understanding in mind, that if I want it to be odd, all three must satisfy and. If I want it to be even, or. Shilpa, when I come to these statements, this will be 100% clear. Okay. Just let's try each and every statement. Okay. Let's look at the first statement. X square by y cube plus 2 is even. And this is the way I write it. This is the way I translate it. This is, so I put an equal to sign even. Why do I do this? Because whenever I see an expression like this, a by b is odd or a by b is even, I prefer taking the whatever is in the denominator to the other side. So I would write it like this: x square is even times y cube plus 2. Okay. Now tell me, even times anything will give you what? Even times any integer gives you what? Does it give you even? Does it give you odd? It gives me even, right? So this is even. So I can say x square is even. So x is even. See, didn't take me much time, because I'm using this methodology. I'm taking this to the other side. Now, what about y cube? Now notice there's nothing mentioned about y cube. No information about y cube is given. So y could be even also. Y could be odd also. Both are possible. You put anything, doesn't matter. X would still be even. So you can say x is even, y could be even, or y could be odd. So let me write down both these scenarios. So these are the two scenarios that you have. Now x is even. You look at your chart that you have made. Okay, x is even. That means it falls in this category, right? It falls in this category. X is even. Do I know anything about z? No. Do I know anything about y? Do I know for sure that y is even or odd? No, I don't. If y turns out to be odd, okay, and x is even, then I'm still in the first category and I cannot answer my question, because I need to know about z. I don't have any information about z. I don't know what to do with it. Okay. If y turns out to be even, okay, if y turns out to be even, then I can be 100% sure that this expression is even, but I don't know for sure. And I'm doing this explanation for you all, guys. By the way, guys, in the exam, the moment you see that both are possible, it could be even, it could be odd. The moment you look at this, you can simply say, hey, two different cases would give me two different answers. Let me discard it. I should not waste my time here. Is this part clear? Let me know if you have doubts here. I'll move on to the second statement. The product of this is odd. Now, a lot of you might start solving this, trying to figure out what is possible, what is not possible. Now, this is where concept of even odd comes into picture, right? The concept is that the power hardly plays any role in the even odd nature. It doesn't matter what the power is. If y is even, y square will also be even. So I'll ignore the powers. I don't care. Okay. Now notice I just figured out somewhere, in fact I rubbed it, that we did this calculation, right? X plus, if I want x plus 5 to be odd, then x needs to be even, right? I did this calculation here. Remember? Now, another concept of even odd is that the plus minus sign hardly matters. I don't care. The product of 2 is odd. I want this to be odd. I want this to be odd. Okay. Y minus 5 doesn't matter even if it's a plus sign, minus sign, this has to be even. Even minus odd would give you odd. Even plus odd would give you odd. Okay. So if your concept is good, you'll hardly take any time here. And that answers your question to me that yes, it can be, because you need to know these concepts really well. You should be able to just look at it and say, hey, this is odd. I want the whole thing to be odd. So this has to be even. This is odd. I want the whole thing to be odd. So this has to be even. This has to be, you should be able to draw this inference in 15-20 seconds. Okay, and these have all been taught, by the way. So if you have gone through the concept video lessons really well from wherever you are doing it, at least at GMAT Viz, we make sure that we cover these really well, so you know it at the really you can just apply it directly. Okay, but okay, so see, you got Y and Z. Now those of you who don't do this pre-analysis, you might mark your answer as C or E, something like that. You'll say I don't know X, so discard the statement. But notice, what are you getting? You're getting Y is even. Why even? And that is the moment you can stop. You can say, hey, I don't need to do anything else. Why even? That means whole expression is even. I have my answer. The question is this expression odd? I'll say, no, it is not odd. I can answer my question just using statement 2. Just using statement 2. So the correct answer is going to be option B. So again, I hope you understand this part, that saving time in the starting is not going to help you out. You will end up choosing a trap answer option like C or E because you do not do the analysis. Okay, and the conceptual knowledge, see, the first thing I started this webinar was with the conceptual analysis part. If your conceptual analysis is not good, then you will take a lot of time to do these questions. If you do this methodically, you will be able to do this question within 2.5 minutes easily. 2.5, not more than that. Okay. In the initial phase of your prep, guys, those of you are saying it will take you 3 minutes or 4 minutes. In the initial phase, you will. When you're starting out your prep, in these questions, you will end up taking 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 6 minutes, and it's okay, because at that point of time, you're learning. In the learning phase, it takes time. But the moment you go into the final practice phase, it will become very easy for you to solve the question. Okay, just one sec. I think, let me remove one of the comments. Just one sec, I'm removing it. In the meantime, if you have any questions, please ask. See, again, the question is, how long should I solve before guessing? See, you should solve till the point you know you're going somewhere where it's leading you to the answer. If you have no clue what to do, if there's no approach in mind, then ideally you should mark something and move on. But like in this case, okay, let me summarize. I think in that way you'll understand why this question can be done in 2.5 minutes. Okay, number one, this part of figuring out when this will be odd, when this will even, should ideally take you 40 seconds, 40 seconds and 20 seconds. 40 seconds to figure out the odd part. Even part should take 20 seconds because it's just the opposite. The only time it should take is for you to think about the or part, that at least one of them needs to be correct. Okay. When it comes to the statements, this statement, once you're done with your video lessons, if you are not, you should be able to understand whenever you're in a scenario like this, you need to take one of the variables to the other side so that you can draw inferences quickly. So this may take you, let's say, take 1 minute, not a problem. So far you have spent 2 minutes. You have spent 2 minutes and you're able to figure out that this is not sufficient. This one, the moment you get even, and let's hypothetically assume you take 30 seconds to do that, which ideally you shouldn't, because you've already worked with this part. You've already done in even odd a number of times that something plus odd, if this needs to be odd, then this always needs to be even. This is something that will be drilled down again and again and again and again. So these inferences would be, you'll be able to draw these inferences very quickly. Okay, so don't worry about the timing at this point of time. Once again, see, you are worrying about things that is not in the initial phase, doesn't matter a lot. So that's why I'm saying don't try and save 10 seconds. Don't try and worry about this will take me 4 minutes to do it. Try and learn what can you do to save those time. Like for example, why did I say when I'm working with 3 minus 6, let's not worry about 3, because everything depends on the nature of y. Why was I saying when I'm working with y square minus 5, let's not worry about the square? These are the things, these are the take, if you take it properly, you will be able to solve questions very quickly. Okay, and you'll be able to save time directly also. Okay, which brings us to the timing conundrum. Okay, what I'm going to do is, this is the last question, and post that I'll come to the timing strategy. This is one last question where I want to talk about, if you know the right concept. I've been talking about even odd concept, right? If you know the right concept, you can solve these questions within, and this is definitely a 657 level question, the one that I've given you. These kind of questions can be done in 30 to 40 seconds. Not all of them, but some of them, if you know the concept properly, if you know the approach properly. Okay, so for this question, I'll give you 1 minute. If you can do it in 1 minute, do it. Else I'll start the discussion and tell you how to do such questions in 1 minute. Okay. Vamsi, see, again, I gave 2.5 minutes in this case, so maybe that is why you are conscious about the time limit. But when you're practicing on your own time, when you're doing concepts for the first time, or when you're initial phase of the prep, don't worry about the time. Focus on what are the things that you can take away from them and try to remember them. Somebody talked about retention in the chat box, right? And that's important. You need to retain these also. If you're not able to retain these, you'll again fall for the same problem. You'll keep on making the same mistakes, or you might end up taking more time also. Okay. Yes, Vamsi. So in yes and no question, actually, we are focused on both the aspects. Okay. Don't get fixated on one of them. The moment you get fixated on one of them, it's a problem. Shilpa, you asked, I think somebody answered also. See, it doesn't matter, Shilpa, if X is odd or not. I just told you that if any one of them turns out to be even, that would give our answer, right? And y was even. If y was even, the whole expression became even. That is why X is not important. Okay, guys, what's the answer for this one? I can just see two answer options. And if you can let me know your thought process also, it's good. If you're taking a guess, then that's a different thing. But just mention, just be honest, you can say, I took a guess. But if there's any logical reasoning behind it, let me know. Okay, a lot of D's and E. Okay, Sachin says n equal to 5. I'd hope somebody would say that n will not always be 5. Okay. N doesn't need to be always 5. N can be, say, 10 also. Not a problem. Try with n equal to 10. I can see C. This is, by the way, one of the questions, similar questions you'll find in GMAT prep. Very, solid question. Okay, time pressure. Hmm. Okay, a lot of C's, a lot of D's. Okay, let me talk about this question a bit. By the way, some of you are solving this question correctly by doing something incorrect. Let me talk about that also. First of all, I'll talk about the usual approach. If somebody is solving this question in the exam, if they don't know the concept that I'm going to talk about, you would usually go about solving this question in this way. You want the LCM of n, 12, 18. And someone can time me also. Okay, so I'll just do whatever anybody would do. So you would write, okay, I want the LCM of this. So n, 12 is 2 square times 3 to the power 1. 18 is 3 square times 2 to the power 1. Okay, you might look at it. If you want to draw any inference, you may draw anything. Or let's just say I'm somebody who doesn't draw any inference. I just want to solve the question quickly. So I'll go to the second statement, first statement. I'll say LCM of n and 12. So 2 square times 3 to the power 1 is 60. Okay, I'll look at this. If my concept is slightly shaky, I'll look at this and I'll say, hey, n is 5. I've got n. I'll get my answer, D. So this is sufficient, right? If your concept is slightly good or better than, if you've gone through the video lessons, then you would draw this inference that n could be 5. This is one possibility, but n could be other values also. Like n can contain any power of 2, and I'm writing it in the generic form. So the generic form of n is this. What I mean by that is that n could be 5 times 2 also. N could be 5 times 2 square also. N could be 5 times 2 times 3 also. N could be 5 times 2 square times 3 also. Okay. And you can try the LCM of, n and 12 with 60, and you'll see that all these cases are possible. All these cases are possible. Somebody's conceptual understanding is good, might take some time doing this, trying to figure out whether this is necessary or not. Okay. But let's just say you do this, then you put all of this here, you try and check it. Could be up to, exactly, n could be up to 60, n could definitely be 60. Correct. Now, if somebody is doing all these inferences, drawing all these inferences, you're spending time, you're taking a lot of time to do it. Okay. And you do the same activity for the second one also. I'm not doing it, but I'm letting you know, you can do the same activity for this one. Spend more time on it. And this might take you about 3 minutes to do it. Okay. And you might come up with the same inference that the answer is D. Okay. I deliberately choose a slightly easier version of this. So you might say the answer is D. Okay. But you spend 3 minutes doing this to figure out there are no other cases. Now, let me ask you a simple question. Okay. And based on this question, you can, the concept that I'm going to talk about, which we teach, you'll be able to solve this question in 30 seconds. Let's say I want to find out the LCM of this, 3 numbers. Okay. Tell me, can I find out the LCM in this way? Let's say I find out the LCM of 10 and 18 first. Okay. I get an answer. Okay. I take that answer. And then what is remaining? 15 is remaining. I take 15 and then I find my final answer. Can I do this? Is this possible? One way is to find the answer directly. The other way is to break it into 2 steps. First step is take any 2 numbers. I've taken 10, 18, doesn't matter. Take any 2 numbers. Take 10, 15, 18, then find with 10, or take 10, 18, then find with 15, doesn't matter. Take any 2, find the answer, plug it here, and get the final answer. Can we do this? Yes, no. If no, why? If yes, why? And for the sake of convenience, I am, doing it so that you can see it. The LCM of 10, 15, 18 would be 3 square, 5 and 2. It would be 90. Okay. If you break it down also, you'll notice in this case, it would be 3 square times 2 to the power 1, 2 times 5. This would give you 90, by the way. If you put 90 here, 3 square, 2 to the power of, let me just rub it and write it down. 2 times 3 square times 5 to the power 1. And what were we left with? We are left with 15, right? See, the answer doesn't change because I need the final power. So I'll get 3 square, 5 to the power 1, 2 to the power 1. So the answer still remains the same, right? Has to be the same. So if I break it down, doesn't matter. Keep in mind, okay? Now notice, I need the LCM of these 3 numbers, okay? I need the LCM of n, 12, 18. And the first statement is giving me the LCM of the first 2 numbers. It's telling me the LCM of n and 12 is 60. So can't I simply find out my answer of 60 and 18 and get my answer? No need to find n. Statement 1 is sufficient. I can do the same thing for the second one. Notice they're telling me the LCM of 2 numbers. They're telling me n and 18. The LCM is 90. So I can say, okay, n, 18, 12. The LCM is given as 90. Let me replace it. 90, 12. and get my answer. Done. So this is also sufficient. No need to find in. And I'm telling you, this is an official GMAT prep question. I'm not making it up just to show you that you can solve questions easily. Come in the exam, these kind of questions come in the mock also. And by just knowing this small concept, you can save a lot of time. This question would not take me any time to solve in the exam. The moment I see 3 terms and notice 2 there, done within a minute. You get a 657 level questions correct in a minute. Why? Because your concept is in place. Your concept is solid. You know this now. This is what I call about knowing the methodical way of solving these kind of questions. Okay. So there will be the reason behind giving this question is, guys, to tell you there will be some questions which you will be able to solve within 1.5, 2 minutes. There will be certain questions which you are going to take 2.5, 3 minutes to do it, and they'll balance out. Okay. So don't worry about these things. Don't worry about timing a lot. The answer is D. The answer is D. If there's anything not clear, please ask me. I know I just said it very quickly, but if there's any doubt, please ask. But I hope it's clear why it's D, because each and every statement is telling you the value of two of the terms. If I know the value of two of the terms, I just need to club it with the third term to get my answer. So I can save a lot of time in these kind of questions. Okay. So if you're worrying about timing a lot, don't do it. I'll summarize the same stuff which I started in the starting. Don't just learn concept and practice questions. You need to learn the methodical way to solve the question. The moment you learn all the methodical way of solving the questions, you will be able to save a lot of time. Now, there's a question: how many of such properties can we remember and apply these under the time constraints? That's a good question, Vamsi. See, each and every topic has certain what I would call as uh, frequently used traps by GMAT to make you fall for the trap. So for each and every type, you kind of learn those kind of traps. Like in LCM, I know LCM GCD, I know these kind of traps based on powers are set. In time and distance, I know they can trick you by not mentioning the word constant. In primes, I know that they can test you concepts on factors where you have to create different cases. So for each one of them, there are different small things, traps that are there which you may have to learn, make note of, and practice those kind of questions again and again and again. That's why I mentioned, no? These kind of things are there in the booster, and that's what I was talking about. At GMAT Quiz, we give you for each and every topic what kind of mistakes are there, and that is why I emphasize on analyzing the solutions. Now, when I'm saying booster, I'm talking from the perspective of GMAT Quiz, but what if from wherever you're learning, and hopefully you're learning from the right resources, you have to focus on analyzing the solutions. You have to focus on this because there'll always be some takeaway, something that you can use to speeden up the way of solving questions. Okay, but the reason behind showing you all these different kind of questions is to tell you that, guys, there will be questions where you will take more time. There'll be questions where you'll be able to solve within a 7 level question in a minute also. There's a percentage question which is quite frequently asked, and unfortunately I don't have it here, that can be solved. It's a 7 level question on GMAT Club. The accuracy is pretty poor. That can be solved in 45 seconds at the max if you know the concept. Okay. Tariq, whenever I pick a question, I always ensure to check the difficulty level of those questions from various places, from our platform, from GMAT Club platform, and then decide whether it should fall in a hard category, easy category. Okay, so if I'm taking a question from the official mock, or if I'm creating a variation of it, I'm taking those which are actually difficult, where people I know will fall for a trap. Okay, so don't worry about that. I'm not just picking anything randomly. So to summarize, guys, as far as learning portion is concerned, I hope it is perfectly clear. You learn the concepts, you learn applications, and then you practice questions. So if you want to do it using GMAT Quiz, obviously you can do it. You'll have the boosters, you can look at the video solutions, and then you can close it. Okay. I want to cover one aspect, very important. Nobody has asked me this, but if some of you come up and ask me, can I skip any topics or not, like permutation, combination, coordinate, functions? My advice would be, please don't do that. Especially if you're looking for a Q50, 51, don't do it. If you're looking for a 47, 46, then the only advice is don't skip it completely. Okay, do it, at least learn the basic level concept, so that if you get any questions in the first 15, 16 of the exam, if the test, you are at least able to attempt those questions properly. Okay, there's a chance that you might get an easy or medium questions. Easy is less chance, medium is still there, so you should be able to solve it. Okay, so if you're targeting 48 plus, don't leave it. no chance at all. If you are targeting anything less than that, 45, 47, something like that, then definitely you can skip some of the or at least go through some of them. And when I mentioned the first 15, the reason I did this because I wanted to show you this. We have just shown this a number of times before also, but I want to emphasize on the importance of the first 15 questions. This is basically 7 questions each, by the way. Okay. Can you see, can anyone tell me after looking at the CSR, what do you notice? What is creating the difference out here? Uh, what is the difference in this one? Shilpa, if you're looking for private tutoring sessions with me, yes, then you can take a session with me and then take a call if you want to enroll or not. I'm sharing the private tutoring link also. If you want to take a look at it, if you want to take lessons from me, you can definitely look at this option. And if you want to talk before taking the call, then I'm sharing the calendar link also. So we can get on a call, understand what's the current situation, and then you can decide what would make more sense for you. Okay. I'm sharing the calendar link. You can book a call, and then and from there, let's decide what would be the best thing for you. Okay. Yes, Vamsi, we do offer, and I just shared the link. It's just above yours. You can just look at that option. Abhirup says the first section. Okay. So notice, guys, just one mistake. One mistake. Everything else is the same. If you'll notice, the guy made, if you notice, 2 mistakes here, 3 mistakes here. This guy also made 2 mistakes here, 3 mistakes here. 1 mistake here, 1 mistake here. Notice how much is this guy penalized because of just 1 mistake in the first quarter. You know, just there's a difference of 1 mistake is creating a difference of 2 points. That is why we emphasize a lot on making sure that you cover the basics. And there's a good chance and this is again, I'm based on the number of ESRs that I've seen, that this guy, the one who got 48, might have made a mistake in the initial first 3 to 4 questions, because of which there's a difference of 2 points. And this sometimes happen if you're not comfortable with a few concepts. So for example, in the first like somebody about 2 to 3 months back, somebody came up and over a call and told me, hey, in the first 4 questions only I ended up getting a PNC question. I didn't expect to get one. In the first 7 I got a coordinate question. I wasn't expecting it. And frankly, 5 years back, 4 years back, people never used to get it also, but the trend has changed a lot. Okay, so it makes sense that you get used to the easy medium questions also, because if you're not even learning those questions, if you're skipping it completely, then there's a good chance that you might end up making a missing 1 or 2 points. And you can see just one question, it hurts a lot. Okay, so make sure the learning from here is to cover each and every part. Topics that you're not comfortable with, get comfortable with those topics. Ideally, maintain an error log if possible. If you're a GMAT student, you don't have to maintain an error log, by the way. You can just come up here and, we will give you all these suggestions out here. We tell you what are the topics that you need to work on, what are the topics that like solidified topics. So we tell you exactly clearly. You don't have to go and find it here anywhere. We tell you these are the topics that you are not good at. You need to work on it, and you can just click on the revise button and start revising these. As simple as that. Uh, so all the video lessons would be in one place. You can simply revise them in one shot. And you can create quizzes, direct quizzes of these topics that you're not good at. Any topic that you're not good at, click on this, take a quiz, improve. Why I'm saying this is because, see, you might, if you're making your own error log, that's totally fine. But find out where you're not good at and start practicing questions, going through the video if required, figuring out what kind of mistakes you may make in those concepts, are the conceptual mistakes or more skill-based mistakes. And on the basis of that, practice questions, keeping those mistakes or errors in mind. If you do that, then believe me, you can improve really, really quickly. Okay, so work on your conceptual gaps, work on your skill gaps, learn the concept, practice questions, figure out if you're still not good at it. Then if you're not still good at it, do a few more easy medium questions, then move to the hard questions only when you're totally comfortable with the concepts and you have understood the application. Okay, and don't worry about the time in the initial phase. That's my main advice. Please don't do that. Okay. I can see one question about 28 questions, a 3-hour experimental. I think somebody answered. Yeah, Tariq answered it. The 3 hour experimental. Sajjan is asking me about how many correct hard questions would start. Can someone predict? Nobody can predict how many hard questions would, after how many hard questions would predict Sajjan. It depends. Technique, roughly we say that if you're doing really well and after the fifth, sixth question, will start getting hard questions. But that's just a guess. Just let me tell you that it can vary. Okay. Kunal, the logic is slightly different, but we have talked about this in one of the webinars about all of these verbal strategy also. In fact, just this is my second last slide. Let me complete and I'll share a link of that webinar. You can look at it where we have talked about all the timing strategies. Okay. This is a question which I get a lot. What is the maximum number of incorrect questions one can have to get a skill for a Q50 plus? Last I checked, based on the ESR that we have looked at, Q50 people end up getting a Q50 by making 4 to 6 mistakes, but where you make a mistake is very important, guys. Please understand this. Don't go about, running after me saying, hey, I made still mistakes. I still didn't get a 50. Because if you make 3 mistakes here, 2 mistakes here, 1 mistake here, you're not getting a 50. Let's be honest. Okay. So the idea is the more you can delay your number of mistakes, if you make them at the extreme end, the higher your chances of you getting a Q50. Okay. But to be on the safe side, think of 4, not more than that, and as late as possible. Okay. For a 51, 1 mistake, I would say, and that also at the very end. That was the last which I saw, or no mistakes. 51 is tough, but it is achievable if you can see these are the number of things that you need to take care of. So 1 to 4 is what you need to look at, or none, just to get a 51. Okay. See, as far as timing is concerned, and this will come at your final phase of your prep, by the way. In the initial phase, as I told you, don't worry about timing. When you start taking mocks, okay, if you want to get a Q51, you need to make sure that you get your timing also right. So you shouldn't fall in the category of someone who is very fast. So I've seen people trying to do everything very quickly without realizing that they're going too fast. So fast that at the end they are they're finishing the exam within 50 minutes, 55 minutes. They still have 5 7 minutes, they haven't utilized it, and that's going to backfire. That's going to backfire very badly for you. And there are a lot of people who, after listening to this webinar, might say, hey, first 15 important. If I ace the first 15, I'm done. And they might spend a lot of time in the first 15 questions, and at the end, they might not give a lot of time. Instead of getting 4 mistakes, they'll still end up making 7 8 mistakes and not get a 50. So getting a perfect timing is important. uh, I'll add one point here that it requires a lot of experimentation. Okay, so I'm giving a timing strategy here of what ideally the timing should be, but please keep in mind that it can vary a little bit, and after taking 2 to 3 mocks, you'll have to figure out what works for you well. But what we usually suggest is that, knowing that in the initial phase the questions would be slightly on the medium level, medium hard level, you need to spend slightly less time. Okay, these are the questions you should be able to do it a little quicker than the questions that you get in later on, because if you're looking for a Q50 51, the difficulty level is going to keep on increasing. Okay, and if you want to ace your first 3 quarters at least, you have to ensure that you have more time for the second and the third quarter. Okay, ideally, if you can do this in 220 also, well and good. Nobody's stopping you from doing that and taking exactly and giving more time here. That's not a problem. But ideally, if you want to take time, don't put all your time in the first 2 quarters. That's a very bad strategy. Okay, so please don't do that. So this is something you will in the initial phase might not be able to do it, but slowly steadily, when you start taking practice quizzes, once you start taking mock, you'll realize these are the things that are working for you, these are the things that are not working for you, and you have to adjust your time accordingly. Also, the important point is that in the third quarters the difficulty would be slightly higher, and if you have aced your first 2 quarters, then the third quarter you can be a picky and choosy. I told you, now there'll be certain questions you will take 2.5 minutes. Nobody can stop you from doing that. Okay, unless until you're like you're exceptional in quant, that's a totally different thing. But if I talk about the bell curve, the middle part, basically, a lot of you will be taking a lot of questions where you'll take more time to do it, and you need to have that time with you. If you don't have it, you're going to face a problem. Okay, so in the third quarter you can be a little picky and choosy. Okay, important thing is make sure that when you're doing DS questions, don't just, if the question seems easy and you're getting answer very quickly, especially in the second, third quarter, and if you know you're doing well, ask yourself, am I falling for a trap? Did I miss anything? Did I miss the even odd part? Did I not look at the various values of n while solving the LCM question? Am I missing anything or not before marking the answer? This is something which you can do for some questions, not all, depending on how much time that you have. So for example, uh, for the LCM question, let's say that's your 15th question, 16th question, and you want to very quickly double check whether the answer that you're getting is correct or not. Let's just say. So if I've already told you there's a way to find out the value of n, then checking it. You can do that very quickly to check whether you're getting the same answer or not. So there could be certain questions if you want to double check. Ideally, if you know two methods, we teach more than one method if required at certain places. So you can use that to double check. Okay. So, so overall, if I have to summarize, I would say that if you start of your prep, work on your concept gaps. Uh, Make sure that when you're going through a new concept, learn the concept properly. Get 100% accuracy in your medium questions. Learn the methodology using boosters. Even if you're spending more time, that's not a problem. But then once you have done learning the methodology, group your topics into two parts. And I'm giving a generic suggestion now, assuming that you are learning on your own. You don't have GMAT quiz to help you. In those cases, once you're done with your concept, try and group your topics on the basis of your accuracy. So if your accuracy is still less than 70%, 60% in some of the topics, that means you'd have to work on your and some concepts also. So for example, you might know how to solve absolute equality question, but you might not know how to solve absolute inequality. And that is why your skill score is less. So you need to go and learn absolute inequality, work in application, and push your score to 70 plus. If you are already got 70 plus, then start doing more hard questions and see if you can, build, apply the concept as much as possible in the methodical way or not, and get exposed to various variations of that particular topic. Okay. Finally, since the first two step I did not mention time, you're just working on your skills. Then you start doing a sectional test of all difficulty level. Okay. And at any point of time, make sure that you are you know keeping an error log, especially if you're preparing alone. Keep an error log, deep dive into each and every mistake, figure out why are you making a mistake, is there a better way to solve the question or not. Okay. And finally, if you focus on improving your skills on each questions, if you improve your skills for question by question, question by question, you'll automatically realize that you will be reducing your time a lot. Okay. Understand this. No a question becomes difficult only when you don't know how to solve it. The moment you know the methodology, it becomes easy, right? And most of the questions in GMAT, out of 31, I'm telling you, 50 to 60% of the questions will almost be testing the same kind of application that are there. So if you have understood the mistakes, the traps properly, believe me, you'll be able to solve the question very easily without any issues. Okay, but you have to make a mental note of all the mistakes. You have to you have to actively write down, if required, the kind of mistakes you're making without categorizing as silly mistakes. Okay, and in the initial phase, please don't worry about the time. Well, that's it from my end, guys. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I am there for about 5 or 10 minutes, and I will be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have. And if you want later on, if you have any questions, you can see the phone number on screen and the email ID. Feel free to write to us also in case you have any questions. I'll look at the chat box and I'll very quickly share a free trial link, guys, in case you want to try it out. And our calendar link once again. If you want to talk to us, please feel free to do so. Now let me look at the questions. Abhirup is saying the issue I have with DS questions is I avoid solving them for exact value. However, some questions later. See, Abhirup, you're absolutely correct when you say that DS is testing sufficiency, but while solving the equation, are you 100% sure that this will give you exactly one answer? Okay, if you're not 100% sure that this will give you exactly one answer, then you should keep on solving. Okay, so for example, if there's a DS, some DS question is given to you. Okay, some DS question is given, and you know that the value that you're looking for is a positive number. Okay, and if the quadratic equation, again, I'm writing it randomly here. Let's say something like this is given to you. Okay, something like this is given. Now you might say I don't want to solve it, but you should know why you don't want to solve this. Again, the point. Now, for example, I can look at this and I can say, hey, there's a negative sign. That means one of the root would be positive, one of the root would be negative. and I know that x is a positive integer, so I can be able to cancel it out, and I'll have only one answer. So this is sufficient. See, I'm logically inferring all of this before deciding whether this is sufficient or not. I'm not just looking at the quadratic equation and saying, hey, it's a quadratic equation, I'll get two values, so let me move on to the second statement. That's a wrong strategy. So drawing inferences, and if required, if you're not at the stage where you can draw inferences, then actually solving it till you're 100% sure that you're getting the answer, you need to do that. Okay. Otherwise, you'll always be falling for the trap. And don't worry about the time, as I told you. In the initial few days, you will take some time because you are still in the learning phase. Or over a period of time, after solving questions of the same type again and again and again, at a certain point of time, you'll know what are the right inferences that you need to draw. Okay. Okay. Lux is asking, what is the common distribution amount of each type? There's no common distribution as such. Okay. Generally, we expect about slightly more questions from word problem. And as far as algebra and number properties are concerned, they are almost at an equal level, I would say. Geometry, again, at an equal level. But you can never say, I'll get 3 questions from statistics, 2 questions from times. Nobody can predict that. That's not possible. Like, I can be sure that you'll get a percentage profit loss question, but how many, 1, 3, 5, nobody can guess that. Okay, let me share the verbal link very quickly. Just give me 1 sec. Um, in the meantime, guys, if you have any more questions, please feel free to ask. Uh, if you want to learn more about timing, and you can look at this video, share it. Okay, Tariq is saying a multiple Q48, 49, the real GMAT numbers go to 50, Q3. So Tariq, if Q3 ruins your timing and you're left with less time in Q4, then that clearly means that you're spending more time in Q1, Q2. So you fall in that category. Remember, I showed two timing with you, two timing, and there's a good chance that you're falling in the one where you are taking more time in the first and second. See, understand, if you're taking more time, that means you are taking time to figure out how to solve the question. If you're trying to figure out how to solve the question, then the main problem lies in the fact that you may not be using a methodical way to solve the question. Now, this might sound generic, but it is a fact. There'll be a lot of questions that you might be spending more time doing it. You have to deep dive and understand, why are you taking more time? Is it because you are making calculation mistakes and doing one question twice, thrice? Is it because you're thinking a lot about how to approach the question? If you're thinking a lot, what kind of topics are you taking more time to think about? Because I'm sure if you're getting a 48, 49, there will be some topics that you might be really good at. So you'll be doing those quickly. But there'll be some that you are taking more time in. Like, I know people who take a lot of time solving inequalities question. Okay, if you fall in that category, then the answer is pretty clear now. You need to work on topics where you are still not very comfortable figuring out what is the right way to solve the question. Once you fix that, the timing will automatically improve, because you will be able to solve questions quickly now. Okay. By the way, guys, just one last request, because this is the last end of the session. If you haven't liked the video yet, please do so. If you found this useful. Okay, Sachin's asking, personal mentor features for everyone, only those who have a real GMAT score of. No, Sachin, the mentorship that we provide is for everyone. We don't do selective, last mile kind of thing. Nothing like that. From day one, you get a mentor. Okay. Obviously, there are certain constraints, like you cannot talk to the mentor every day. We set milestones. Like, for example, you on a first call, we'll decide what you need to do for the next 10 to 14 days. You complete your milestone, then you talk to your mentor. The mentor will tell you exactly whether you're going in the right direction or not. If you're not, then obviously they'll suggest corrective actions. If you are, then the next milestone is set. That is the way we go about doing it. Okay. So no selective, mentoring. Don't worry about it. It's for everyone. Sachin, how much time will it take? That's again a very generic question, Sachin. Unfortunately, very difficult to answer. It depends on your situation. I would recommend booking a call, Sachin. Talk to us, and because I would need a lot of more data points. How much time are you able to give? Have you prepared before or not? How comfortable are you with quant and verbal? How much time do you have in hand? These kind of things are something which I need to know before giving you any suggestions. Roughly, if you still want a number, it varies anywhere between 4 to 6 months, 3 to 6 months, depending on what your initial level is. And when I'm saying 4 to 6 months, 3 to 6 months, I'm assuming that you'll be able to give 15 to 20 hours roughly. Okay, but again, these are generic. If you want more information, more accurate, answer, then we will have to help you out. Do you have any EA specific resources that I can? We don't have EA specific resources, but we have worked with few EA students before also, and we kind of tailor the plan for them because we have everything on our platform, and it's a personalized plan. It's a very dynamic plan, just to let you know. So it's not very. So we can tell you what are the things that you need to go through, what are the things that you can skip. All of these things can be tailored to go through, and you can go through only those stuff that you need to work on. So don't worry about that part at all. Okay. Shilpa, yes. See, there are two kind of plans that you can look at. One of them is if you want to prepare on your own, then there's a 2 month plan where you can start off by first of all understanding what are the things that you're good at, what are the things that you're not good at. You can talk to the kind of link that I've shared with you. You can get on a call with us. We'll try and gauge your initial level first. Try and figure out what you know, what you don't know, and then on the basis of that, we will tell you how much time will you take to improve. Okay, and what kind of guidance do you need. If we feel that you will be able to prepare on your own, the only problem with you at this point of time was that you didn't have the right you know resources, then we'll tell you that then and there only that you just need to work with our resources. It will be good. If we feel that you may need a little bit of special attention where you need to work actively with a mentor, take some tutoring sessions for certain classes to improve your base, then we'll going to advise you accordingly. But we have options of both the options are available depending on what your stage is. So just talk to us once. And these calls are free. Don't worry, and we don't bug you. Also, you one call, you talk to us, and that's it. Shukla ji, I'm not sure what your question is. How can I earn or how can I learn? What is your question? If you're talking about learning, then obviously you can use the GMAT Wiz platform to learn. If you're looking for a one-stop solution, that's the best way. Just take one. In general, also see, I won't say GMAT Wiz as such. I'm saying just whenever you're preparing, it's best to use one resource. Okay, go looking at 10 to 4 or 5 resources doesn't make sense. You'll get confused. One resource where all your data is at one place is always better than learning from 10 different places. Yes, Kshitij, 15 to 20 hours at least per week. And again, for 3 to 4 months, if you already have a certain base built, okay. If you don't have that, if you're starting like from scratch, then slightly more time. I would say take it to 5 months or 6 months. Okay. And understand this, guys, that if you're learning from a platform like GMAT, then as I told you, it's a highly personalized course. So if you're good at certain things, you will be able to complete those kind of lessons very quickly because it will personalize the plan for you depending on your diagnostic quizzes and practice quizzes. If you need more attention, then in a particular topic, we'll give you that kind of attention, that particular topic, if you don't perform well in the practice quizzes and diagnostic quizzes. So it's totally flexible depending on your strength and weaknesses. So if you want something like that, then I would highly recommend looking at it or talking to us, whichever works for you. Okay. So guys, I'm ending the session. And if you have any questions, please feel free to write to us at piyush@gmatwiz.com, or there's a number is that you can ping on WhatsApp, and the candidate link is also showing on the screen. Either of these three options are available to get in touch with us. Okay. So I hope this was helpful, guys. I'm ending the session now. Have a great day then. Bye.